Ethan Harper had always been a simple man. He lived alone in a small, high-rise apartment on the edge of New Avalon City, a place where technology hummed in every corner, and neon lights painted the streets in shades of electric blue and soft violet. Despite the city's constant movement, Ethan's life was quiet. He worked as an engineer at the Central Space Defense Facility, a job that demanded precision, focus, and long hours. It was a job that made him proud, but also left him exhausted. This evening, like many others, Ethan returned home tired and stiff. His uniform still carried the faint scent of machinery and ozone, and his eyes felt heavy, as if the weight of the day had settled in them. He stepped into his apartment and flicked on the soft white lights. The room looked exactly as it had for months. A neatly made bed, a small table with his tools and gadgets, and a window that overlooked the city skyline. From here, the streets below looked like a river of moving lights, a blend of human energy and machine precision. Ethan didn't bother with dinner tonight. He shrugged off his uniform, letting it drop to the floor, and allowed himself to sink into the comfort of his bed. He lay there with nothing on, feeling the soft fabric of the sheets against his skin. For a moment, the exhaustion was pure, and the silence was perfect. He had no interruptions, no messages, no demands. Just the warmth of his small apartment and the knowledge that tomorrow would bring the same routine. As he drifted into sleep, he noticed something unusual. A faint, flickering light from outside his window caught his attention. It wasn't the usual city glow, nor the blinking advertisements that dominated the skyline. This light was different, soft, yet vibrant, like a pulse or a heartbeat. Ethan squinted, trying to make sense of it, but then shook his head. "Too tired," he muttered, closing his eyes. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. Sleep was more important. And soon, he surrendered to it completely. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. In sleep, time had no meaning. But Ethan's dreams were strange tonight. They were filled with abstract shapes, swirling colors, and sounds he had never heard before. Shapes that seemed alive, moving as if they had thoughts of their own. He felt himself floating in a space he didn't recognize, yet it felt oddly familiar. It was not frightening, only strange and exhilarating, like standing at the edge of a cliff, feeling both fear and excitement at the same time. Then, without warning, he was pulled out of the dream. Not by sound, not by light, but by a sudden awareness. Something had changed. The air felt different against his skin, thicker, heavier, yet sharper. It carried a faint hum, a resonance that seemed to vibrate through his bones. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, expecting to see the familiar ceiling of his apartment. But the room looked wrong. Shapes were slightly off, edges blurred, as if reality itself had softened. He sat up, heart beating faster. "What?" His voice sounded strange to him, echoing slightly in the room. The soft glow he had noticed before now filled the apartment, coming not from outside, but from the walls themselves. The sheets beneath him shimmered faintly, almost as if they were made of liquid light. Ethan swung his legs over the side of the bed, his bare feet touching the floor. But the floor felt different too. Warmer. Alive. He moved toward the window, driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity. The city outside was unrecognizable. Buildings twisted and stretched in ways that defied geometry. The streets were empty, not a single vehicle in sight. And above it all, ships floated silently in the sky, their surfaces smooth and reflective, glowing with a soft inner light. They were enormous, unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Ethan blinked, certain he was still dreaming, but he wasn't. When he touched the window, the glass rippled under his fingers, responding like water. The hum grew louder, filling his ears. Yet, It was not unpleasant. It was commanding, almost inviting. Ethan realized then that something had happened while he slept. Something that had changed the world. And perhaps him too. He looked at his own hands. At first glance, they seemed normal. But as he flexed his fingers, he noticed a subtle glow beneath the skin. Faint veins pulsing with light. Reflexively, he moved his hand faster, testing strength, coordination, and awareness. To his amazement, he found himself reacting quicker than normal. His mind calculating movements almost instantly. A screwdriver on his table moved slightly under his touch, as if he had willed it to, though he hadn't consciously intended it. Fear and excitement warred inside him. Ethan had always been rational. He worked with machines, understood physics, and trusted facts. Yet everything he had known about the world felt fragile now, like a story told to children. "Okay," he whispered to himself, trying to remain calm. "Think. Just think." He walked through his apartment slowly, touching walls, furniture, anything to gauge the changes. Everything was responsive, alive in subtle ways. The hum resonated stronger under his feet, through his bones. Ethan realized he could sense the energy flowing through the apartment, almost like he was connected to it. It was thrilling, terrifying, and utterly confusing. Then, movement outside caught his eye. A figure approached, gliding across the city streets below. Ethan's heart leapt. At first, he thought it might be a person, but it moved in a way no human could. Its body shimmered with the same light that now infused his apartment. It seemed almost transparent, yet solid, and it radiated intelligence, curiosity, and something else, recognition. The figure stopped and looked directly at Ethan, though its form had no eyes as humans understood them. And Ethan, without knowing why, felt as if it could see into him, into his very mind. He stumbled back, unsure what to do. But the strange, calm voice in his mind reassured him. Not spoken, but felt. "Do not fear. You are chosen. You are ready." Ethan sank back onto the bed, trying to process it all. He had slept with nothing on, thinking it was an ordinary night of rest. Now he faced a reality more unimaginable than any dream. The world had shifted while he slept. Humans were no longer in control. And yet, somehow, he had survived, or been spared, or perhaps transformed. He didn't know. And for the first time, he realized that being human, weak, fragile, ordinary was no longer a limitation. Outside, the city remained silent. The glowing ships hovered. The alien figure watched, and the sky had turned a deep, violet hue. Ethan's mind raced, yet a spark of determination lit inside him. If humans could survive this, he thought, it would not be through strength alone. It would be through ingenuity, courage, and the very essence of what made them human. For a long moment, he simply sat there, absorbing the hum, the light, the alien presence. Then, with a deep breath, Ethan stood. He had no idea what had happened, or what would come next. But one thing was certain. He was awake now, and in a universe that had suddenly grown vast and strange, being awake meant being ready. The ordinary life of Ethan Harper had ended the moment he closed his eyes. But the extraordinary had only just begun. Ethan's heart pounded as he stared at the glowing city below. The streets were empty, the buildings twisted in shapes that defied human architecture, and the enormous ships floated silently above like sentinels from another world. Yet the strangest part was the sensation coursing through his own body, a quiet energy that seemed to hum in his veins. Every movement felt sharper, every thought clearer. He was awake in a way he had never been before. He approached the window again, trying to understand what had happened while he slept. The alien figure from before was still there, standing at the edge of the street. It shimmered like liquid light, changing shape subtly as if observing him. Ethan felt an instinctive urge not to panic, though his body wanted to flee. Instead, he focused on the details. Its form was humanoid. Vaguely, but elongated and elegant. No face, no mouth, no visible eyes. But Ethan sensed intelligence and awareness radiating from it. The voice in his mind returned, gentle and calm, like a whisper in a quiet room. "Do not fear. Come to us. Learn." Ethan froze. The thought was not his own, yet it felt as real as his heartbeat. He hesitated, weighing every instinct against the unknown. He was a human, unarmed and unprepared, standing in the middle of a city that no longer felt his own. And yet, something inside him, a mixture of curiosity and courage, urged him forward. He moved toward the door, bare feet silent on the shimmering floor. The hum beneath him grew stronger, almost as if it were guiding him. Each step was instinctive, yet precise. He opened the door and looked out onto the hallway. It stretched longer than it should have, walls bending in subtle curves, lights shifting with a slow, living pulse. Ethan paused, but the inner voice was persistent. "You are chosen. You can understand." Taking a deep breath, he stepped outside. The hallway led to a staircase that descended into the street, though the steps themselves seemed fluid, changing slightly under his feet as he walked. He reached the bottom and emerged into the open city. The air was thick, vibrant, and humming with energy. The alien figure stood at the center of the street, as if waiting for him. Ethan noticed other forms flickering in the distance, shapes that appeared and disappeared, like glimpses of something both alive and artificial. "Hello?" Ethan called, his voice sounding small in the vast emptiness. No reply came, only the gentle pulsing of energy around him. Then, the alien figure moved closer. It glided, not walked, and its form seemed to ripple with faint lights, colors he could not name. As it approached, Ethan noticed that it was studying him, learning, and strangely, he could feel it like a weightless touch on his mind, calm and curious. "Why? Why am I here?" Ethan asked aloud. The alien did not speak, but the answer came to him in understanding, rather than words. "You are awake. You are human. You can see what others cannot." Ethan blinked. What does that even mean? He thought. Yet somehow, the alien knew his thoughts, and it responded without speaking. Others were not ready. You are. The realization hit him slowly. Humans, millions of them, had vanished from the streets. The world he had known was gone, and only he remained. Or at least, only he seemed conscious in the way he had always been. Fear should have gripped him, but instead, a spark of determination ignited. Humans were known for resilience, for problem-solving, for daring to survive in impossible situations. Perhaps this was his test, or his opportunity. Ethan stepped closer to the alien. "What do you want from me?" His voice was steady, though his body trembled slightly. The figure paused, and then a subtle glow expanded around it. Shapes formed in the air, geometric patterns, flowing and shifting, like a language beyond words. And then Ethan understood. These were instructions, not for the alien, but for him. The first pattern showed a simple device, glowing with energy. Ethan recognized it instinctively, a tool, but advanced beyond anything Earth had produced. His fingers itched to manipulate it, and when he reached out, the device appeared in his hands. It felt weightless, yet substantial, and responded to his touch as if reading his mind. He moved it experimentally, and lights shifted, panels opened, and information flowed before his eyes in ways that made sense despite their alien origin. He realized something extraordinary. He could interact with alien technology without learning it. It was as if his human mind had unlocked a part of itself that could adapt instantly. The alien's glow shifted again, signaling approval. Ethan's confidence grew. He was afraid. Yes, but more than that. He felt alive. His human instincts, curiosity, ingenuity, courage were his tools now, as powerful as any weapon. Hours or perhaps only moments passed. Ethan experimented with the device, exploring the city, and noticing more subtle changes in himself. His vision could see energy flows, his reflexes were sharper, and his mind worked in ways that allowed him to solve problems before fully understanding them. He realized that he was no longer just a man. He was a bridge between humanity and the world beyond. Suddenly, the alien shifted its form into something more humanoid, though still luminous. It raised a limb, if it could be called that, and pointed toward a nearby structure, larger and more imposing than any building Ethan had ever seen. The voice in his mind guided him again. Follow. Learn. Decide. Ethan moved toward it cautiously, his bare feet touching the shimmering street. As he walked, he noticed signs of the alien presence everywhere. The buildings were alive with energy, flowing patterns that adjusted themselves constantly. The air pulsed with rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. And in every corner, tiny devices moved, unseen but intelligent. Humans had been removed from this world, the aliens had told him. But it was not destruction, they had been preserved, contained, perhaps studied. And now, Ethan alone remained free to navigate the city. He entered the large structure. Inside, the walls were transparent yet filled with a liquid-like glow. The air vibrated softly, carrying images and sensations directly into his mind. It was a palace, laboratory, and command center all at once. Designed not for humans, but for beings of intelligence far beyond Earth. Yet here he was, walking through it, adapting, learning, surviving. A chamber opened ahead, and there, suspended in midair, were humans floating peacefully, eyes closed, surrounded by a faint light. They were alive, unharmed, but completely unaware of the world around them. Ethan's chest tightened. Fear and anger mingled, but he reminded himself, this was not chaos, it was opportunity. Humans could survive, but they would need him. The alien figure appeared beside the suspended humans, and for the first time, Ethan noticed a subtle gesture of respect, almost reverence. It communicated, again without words, they are not ready. Ethan swallowed hard. Save them? How could he, a single human, face beings of such power and intelligence? Yet deep inside, he knew the answer. Humans had always survived impossible odds. They had built civilizations, crossed oceans, flown to the stars. And now, when faced with beings that saw them as fragile, he realized the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity adapted, survived, and could inspire even the most advanced beings. He approached the nearest suspended human. The glow reacted to his presence, and for the first time, one of them stirred. Their eyes opened, and a faint recognition passed between them. Familiarity, trust, hope. Ethan's heart swelled. If humans could survive this, it would not be through alien power, but through courage, empathy, and intelligence, the very qualities that defined them. The alien figure shifted, almost imperceptibly. The glow pulsed, and a thought entered Ethan's mind. We have underestimated your kind. Perhaps we were wrong. Ethan's determination hardened. He was alone now, but not powerless. He understood that he would have to learn quickly, think creatively, and act with bravery. The fate of humans, perhaps the future of their species, rested on him. As the violet light of the alien world bathed him, Ethan realized the truth of his awakening. He was no longer just a man sleeping in his apartment. He was a human standing at the threshold of the universe, facing beings who had never truly understood the potential of his kind, and for the first time, he embraced it. Fear was gone. Only focus remained. Only resolve. Only humanity. He took a deep breath, the hum resonating in his chest, and stepped forward. The city, the glowing humans, the alien sentinel, everything awaited his choice. And Ethan Harper, the ordinary engineer who had slept with nothing on, was ready to awaken fully to a reality far beyond imagination. The ordinary life was gone. The extraordinary had begun.